When you got to spend big money, you don't always have to touch your money or your assets. You can actually leverage loans in order for you to get these things done. So I'm going to walk through real life use case scenario that I'm going through right now in this moment. I have some work I'm trying to do in my house. Contract came back with a quote about $70,000. Crazy, right? If you think about it all at once, it's like, dang, I know I only make a certain amount of money. It's going to take me probably like a good several months in order for me to come up with that in cash. But why do I have to pay that in cash? You can actually leverage loans in order for you to get this work done, allowing for your business to flourish a lot much more, so that way your assets can actually grow at the same time and you're not touching your real money. You're not going to be able to get this off completely without your cash. You can in the future, but for me at least, I wanted to put a portion away. What it is the money that you're coming in with from your income, from your business, you use that to pay over time whatever it is that you need to get done. It's just when you got to take that lump sum of money and do it all at once, it could be a little scary. You want to make sure you have your reserves in case anything happens. You have that time to be able to do what you got to do. So I didn't want to touch my real money. Assets wise, I could sell stocks, crypto, and pay everything off. But why would I want to do that when the markets are at a finally normal prices right now and they're only going to increase? I really think that we have another 10 to 12 months of this crypto stocks rally, and it may not be in all sectors. It may be in particular sectors, because a lot of tech stocks that I purchased, they're still lower from where they peaked last time. If they reach a certain peak last time, they're going to surpass it on the next peak. Then that's when you start worrying about selling your assets, because at that point we've reached a new highs. It breaks past the plane. This is a trick that happens a lot with day traders. They always talk about breaking the plane, and once it does break, it's going to shoot up at a higher rate than it was at before, at a higher price value. So you don't want to miss that moment. You don't want to make sure you sit down and hold on to your assets, so when that time comes, then you can worry about selling things off. And I really think that things are going to double from where they are at, because the things you got to think about is the amount of money printing they're about to do. The feds have talked about they're going to slash interest rates probably towards a couple of months from now, maybe mid-year, which is going to cause, I feel, a couple of things. It may cause home prices to shoot up even more. What it's going to do, though, give confidence to companies to lend or borrow. So we might start seeing a rise of employment again. People are getting more employed, especially in the tech sector, because they're allowed to borrow more money. They feel more comfortable with the amount of money they can borrow at the risk that they can. So therefore, it's going to create a slight boom. It might not make home prices affordable, but at the same time, we don't know. Because if confidence is not there and people are not buying as much, it may keep prices at a standstill. But at the same time, because of the lending, the interest rates that's dropping, if people now are seeing oh, the interest rates are dropping, it's an opportunity for me to move, a lot of people might start selling their homes, which may cause the effect of home prices to either stay still with the current interest rates, which is still good, or it may cause prices to drop down if there's a lot much more sellers on the market than there are actually buyers. So those are the possibilities right now, and we're not completely too sure. But one thing for sure, when interest rates drop, companies are able to borrow more, therefore do a lot much more things. So this is part of my thinking as well in my current situation, because I don't want to touch my assets. I think whenever interest rates drops to stock prices, economy just starts like growing like crazy. Inflation might get a little bit out of hand because of people that are lending and borrowing unresponsibly, and they cause this effect to actually happen. But I'm being very careful and strategic about how I'm doing things. My asset prices are way higher than the amount of money that I'm actually borrowing. In case anything happens, I can liquidate, pay those things off, and get back to the norm. But I never panicked that way. Last time I lost my job, I was doing some work in the house. I was in contract for another property. I had a unit that was vacant. So what I did, I opened a credit card probably a month prior that I actually started doing the work, to pay the contractor for the work. It was an electrician. So I had 18 months to pay the whole thing off, pretty much interest free throughout that entire time, make the minimum payment balance. So that way you're not touching your actual cash. And I took $22,000 I had, put it into crypto, really Dogecoins. I diversified the investments a bit, but I had put $22,000 in Dogecoins. And then within a few months, it 5x. I liquidated then, used some of it, but then put some of it back into Litecoin. I also got new employment at the time. This is when my business started evolving. I had a contracting opportunity I took on to, and I had a new tenant that moved in. This is just how God works sometimes. He wreck things up, have you build it back together, and when it comes together, it's really at a much bigger, better place. You're much more appreciative of where it is, but it also may have stopped me from trying to obtain that other property. So sometimes God closes certain doors that don't need to be open, and you got to trust him throughout this whole process. So I'm repeating this cycle very similar. So the $70,000, what I actually did was, instead of a credit card, I found out, because my contractor is not accepting credit card payments. They want to deal with cash. They don't really like to do that. Some people do, like electricians, but most contractors, they just want to deal with cash. American Express, they actually have a blueprint business loan that they have. I'm not using the loan to pay him directly. That's not the plan. What I'm doing is, the money that's coming into my business, I'm paying myself more, so that way I can use that money to pay him off and leverage off of that. And then the money that I need for the business, I'm using from the loan. So the loan is still applicable to the business. This is how you got to think about it. You're transferring money from the business side so that the business can operate, and then paying yourself to do other things that you need to do elsewhere. And that's the tactic you got to think about it, and that's how you got to explain it to any lender too. Because if you go straight up tell them, oh yeah, I'm going to use this business loan to do work around my house, that has nothing to do with your business at all. But if you have cash in your business, you're paying yourself, completely legal, and then you use the business loan to operate the business and keep things going. And that's how I'm doing things. The reason I chose American Express, so I spoke to several lending companies, and another one I'm speaking to right now is called BCH Loan Group. They are pretty good. Their interest rates is good, and their terms are pretty lengthy too. You can do 3 years, 7-year options. So they offered 3-year option, and I think I would end up paying about $25,000 in interest. Think about it. It's like, yeah, $25,000 across 3 years. That's about $8,000 a year. I could potentially pay it sooner, accrue a lot less interest, but it's still quite a lot of money. With American Express, $30,000, how much they approved me for, and I'm only paying about $900 for the 6 months period. If you think about it, that's about 6% interest. That's about $2,000 per year, which would be like $6,000 across 3 years. I know it's different values, different amounts, but let's try to compare apples to apples for a second. So let's say we did 2.5, because 2.5 times 30,000 would equate to, well, actually, let's do 2.5. It would equate to about 75,000. So if you take $2,000 and multiply it by 2.5, that is $5,000. So it's still cheaper than doing the BCH option, but the BCH option, they give you a lot much more, and they give you big long term. The reason I also chose American Express, one, they gave me this rate because I already have a relationship with them. I have 2 American Express cards, and the interest rate is so low, it's so competitive, I'm not getting that anywhere else at all. But it starts a relationship with them. A lot of these lenders, you start borrowing money from them, paying it back. They start lending you more money at a cheaper rate, to the point where these big investors that you're seeing, they're no longer using their cash. They're actually leveraging a lot much more of these lending because they're good for it. Once you have the word on the street that you're good for it, they trust you, they're going to give you a lot much more for you to take on. The more responsibility you show them that you're able to upkeep with, the more they'll give you to be responsible for. With this strategy right now, I didn't have to touch any of my assets. One of my beneficiary investment accounts that was Charles Schwab's, I mostly have grayscale stocks in there. It's about to be close to 6 figures worth of value right now. If I liquidate any of that, that won't make sense. And I think that account might reach 7 figures at some point if crypto is going the way it is. And it's nowhere near its highs right now. I really think that account itself should reach there. By God's grace, I'm not saying God is a ATM machine or a lottery machine or anything like that, but based upon my own calculations, based upon the wisdom He has given me, that's how I'm looking at things. Loan is in place. I'm able to start the work that I need to get done, and then the rest of the $70,000 I gotta pay him, I could do it over the course of the 4 or 5 months. Because as I have money coming in, I'm paying the loan, paying him a little bit, and things are starting to boom. And who knows, if those accounts reach those highs when they're in the 7 figures, yeah, I could liquidate the remaining balance and pay certain things off. but I'm trying to just leverage the income that I'm paying myself a lot much more over the course of a longer term period. So that way I'm not touching my assets. I'm leveraging the loan. I'm building a relationship, increasing my business credit score so that they can trust me a lot much more with more money, because I eventually want to be able to borrow $100,000, $150,000 from them. So that way I could put that money sitting in the business, and then whatever money the business has coming in, pay that to myself, and I can do what I need to do elsewhere, buy more real estate, whatever. So that's how you got to look at things. Instead of trying to use your own money, your own cash at times to maneuver things and do things, and you have a business, do that. If you don't have a business, let's say it's just a W-2, the route you can take is a personal loan if it makes sense. Like if the personal loan was at the same interest rate that American Express was offering me, potentially I could do that. With the personal loan, you could use it for personal reasons. You could do whatever you want with it. You could directly go and renovate your house or do what it is that you got to do. Same tactics, same strategy, but be responsible. Do not bite off more than you can actually chew. You got to do the calculations in terms of how much you can bring in within that period of time. I know $30,000, I can pay it off. Like my business brings in that in about less than 2 months. I feel confident that worst case happens, I can pay it off and continue paying the contract and get the things done I need to get done, and don't have to worry as much. And I also have assets in case anything happens, I can liquidate. Another option too is you could open another credit card like I did. I had opened a $20,000 credit card, which you have 18 months interest free to pay what it is that you need to do. And there are ways to convert that to cash. You could use PayPal. You can use any of those payment services. They charge you a processing fee. You pay it to yourself, and it converts the credit amount to cash. But it didn't make sense for me to do that because I looked at the percentage that it would have cost. It was cheaper for me to go with the American Express Blueprint business loan rather than doing that process. Do a $30,000 credit card, convert it. It just didn't add up. Do not be afraid of lending. I know it costs a little bit, like it's costing me $145 per month just to hold on to that loan up until the 6th month. I can write off the whole thing off because it's for business purposes, and on top of that, it's freeing up my cash so that I can actually use it to where I actually need to. Because the places that you absolutely cannot use credit, you got to use cash. You do that. That's what you save it for. And where you can use credit, use it for credit. Like, as I'm doing the repair right now, Home Depot, I have a Home Depot card with a $30,000 card limit. Anything I buy over $300, they let me pay it off in 6 months, a year, 18 months, 24 months, depending on the value. Lowe's, same thing. That's where I'm buying most of the supplies. And then whatever I cannot buy from them using their cards, then I'll actually leverage my own credit card to do it. If the expenses were a lot higher for materials that I cannot get with them, but then I have to use some mom and pop shop, then I have to do it on my pure credit. Then I would open a new card for the 18 months so I can enjoy the same benefits of the 18-month interest-free, right, for the first 18 months, and then pay off the card once we're close to that term. And that's the rinse, cycle, repeat strategy we got to use. Leverage credit. Try to not touch your cash. Instead, invest it where you can. I'm not saying for you to go 100% in that area, of course. You still need cash coming in so that way you can pay off these loans and make sure it's manageable. In case anything happens, your assets can cover it, and you feel the confidence that you won't be behind. Like, share, subscribe if you found this insightful. Peace and love. Trust in Jesus. Have an amazing one. Hustle, 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 step.